Welcome to the show. Before we start this episode, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. We do appreciate it. We've got a good episode for you today. We're looking at a global company called Starbucks. This is a company that makes $69.6 million per day. There's been a lot about Starbucks. Stories always come up about them at the end of the year. We want to look at some recent happenings with Starbucks from a PR and marketing perspective and ask you the question whether this is a blunder for them or if you think they're doing well and it's business as usual. So let's dive right in. As I stated, Starbucks makes $69.6 million per day. It's a lot of money selling coffee. This goes up by about 12% during Christmas time. But it's not just by selling coffee. In 2008, Starbucks launched its reward program. And in 2021, the company held about $2.4 billion in cash. That's billion with a B. It became clear this program wasn't just about customer loyalty. It's about operating like a bank. So number one, customers load money onto their accounts, right, or gift cards. And number two, Starbucks holds that cash as prepaid funds. So here's how and where it all comes together. A, Starbucks doesn't pay a cent in interest here, right? It's not a typical savings account at a bank that you're putting money into. And B, they're sitting on billions. So why do people think this is genius from a retailer's perspective? One, you're essentially giving them a free loan. Starbucks gets billions at 0% interest. Two, it creates breakage revenue. Unused gift card balances brought in $164.5 million in 2021, about 10% of stored value alone. Essentially, you bought a gift card, or somebody's bought you a gift card, and you never used it, or there's money left on it. Three, it locks in customer loyalty. 27.4 million active U.S. rewards members, and this is based on data from Q3 2022, keep money circulating in Starbucks' ecosystem. So you kind of see where they're coming from. You know, McDonald's discovered their real business wasn't food, but real estate. Similarly, Starbucks has built a secondary income stream that adds billions to its bottom line. In the case of McDonald's, you know, a Whopper meal doesn't really cost. Whopper. I'm thinking Burger King. That's my preference. Sorry to inject that. You're thinking a Big Mac doesn't cost that much money. But McDonald's is one of the biggest real estate owners globally. There is a McDonald's everywhere you go. They own property. So when you take a look at it, you know, similarly, Starbucks, you know, they've built this income stream that adds to their bottom line. So the Wall Street Journal says that if Starbucks were a bank, it would be the 385th largest bank in the U.S. And it's sort of crazy how they've built that. They've built a bank right under our nose. So a lot of people on X, formerly known as Twitter, have been saying Starbucks isn't a coffee company. It's actually a bank that sells coffee. Very interesting. So, with all things big companies, you often face people looking to you, your systems, your business, how you make money, and so on and so forth. I came across something that happened that was reported recently on CBS News. Let's look at that. So over 75% of Starbucks drinks, that's billions every year, are served in plastic cups. But hey, it's fine, right? They've got recycling bins in store, and the cups say they're recyclable. So problem solved, right? It's a very environmentally friendly company, and who doesn't like their Starbucks coffee? But apparently not so much. A recent investigation showed most of those cups don't actually get recycled. Out of 36 cups tracked, only 4 ended up at a recycling facility. 4 out of 36. The rest, they end up in landfills, incinerators, or waste transfer stations. Turns out, the type of plastic Starbucks uses, it's called number 5, is hardly ever recycled, less than 1% globally. So Starbucks says it's working on recycling programs and aims to make all its cups recyclable or compostable by 2030. But let's be honest, these people are saying, researchers, that we will never recycle our way out of billions of cups a year. So that's their concern. So the question is, what's the solution? Maybe it's time we in Starbucks get serious and systematic about scaling out reusables, right? Because everything else just seems like a delay and distraction. So, how did they gather this information? Very tricky. Let's see how they did it. So they dropped Starbucks plastic cold drink cups with air tags inside into labeled Starbucks recycling bins. And here's where they believe they went. So 14 last pinged at locations that appeared to be landfills. 13 last pinged at locations that appeared to be waste transfer stations. 5 last pinged at locations that appeared to be incinerators. And 4 last pinged at locations that appeared to be materials recovery facilities, or MRFs. So, the research came out, and that was reported by CBS News, and since there have been a lot of interesting reactions. Let's look at some of them. I'd love you to also leave a comment. I want to know what you think went on here and what your opinion is. Somebody said, so intentionally contaminating material for recycling, and the researcher is wondering why they ended up in a landfill. So there's that idea that, well, how they went about the research was they dropped air tags, which I first thought that's a very expensive item to drop in something that's supposed to go in recycling. First world problems, I guess. And so the fact that the air tags were there means the items probably were no longer recyclable. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the comments. People are saying, do we blame the recycling companies? Do we blame Starbucks? And here's a comment that I found very interesting. The person said, here's a great lesson on how not to run an experiment. And there's a disclaimer that comes with it. He says, I cannot judge whether Starbucks cares about their environmental impact. He's no expert on waste management or sustainability. And those who ran the experiment surely have admirable intentions. He's merely commenting on the nature of the experiment as was laid out. So let's take a look at what went wrong here. 1, tampering with the object of the experiment. Waste management systems have lots of different methods for automatically triaging, separating, and cleaning trash. So these methods include culling any contaminated plastics that contain dangerous non-recyclable metals, e.g. ones you would find in an air tag. 2, Statistical insignificance. Every year, Starbucks distributes over 6 billion plastic cups. So that's about 17 million per day. So testing 36 cups out of 17 million doesn't tell you anything. 3. Inconsistent testing conditions. Did they use cups from just one Starbucks location? Or different locations in one city? Or different cities or countries? Surely these variables would all significantly impact results. And 4. Broad conclusion. As true as it may be that we all need to take recycling more seriously, the definition of a foregone conclusion, right? It reads like it was written before the experiment was ever run. So, they're saying why they were posting about this is because every day they talk to teams who say, let's just A/B test it. When 9 out of 10 times it makes no sense. So, they're concluding that an experiment won't tell you anything if you draw conclusions with zero statistical significance, or there are too many variables to know if a variance has any impact. So you don't need to be a data scientist to run experiments with common sense. That brings us to the end of this episode. I really would be interested to see what you guys think. Is Starbucks, should we spotlight them for claiming to be an eco-friendly company that's not doing right by the environment? Was this research poorly done, even though the findings might be alarming, right? Were they overreaching by putting expensive air tags in plastic cups to be thrown away? And how can we improve something like this in the future so it's a win-win for the researchers, for the environment, and for all of us collectively? Let me know what you guys think. So please like and subscribe. As always, head over to buymeacoffee.com/Samson King to make a donation. It's the end of the year and 'tis the season. We appreciate it. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.